Got it? All right, we're recording.
Okay, so I'm glad you're able to record the call, Mindy. I know there's a lot of people who wanted to jump on the call that were muted.
Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
I'm trying to mute everybody else so there's not so much feedback. Just a second. Sorry.
Nope, I'm unmuted.
Okay, there you go. All right, good.
Okay. So anyways, I'm glad that everyone that's on was able to join and take some time out of your evenings. So why I really wanted to put this call together was I wanted to share with you a little bit about my experience with Beachbody this far and where I'm really finding some passion in coaching. And I'm hoping that you guys will find that same passion and make a decision to jump on board. So a little bit about me is when I was growing up, I kind of bounced from house to house. I never really had a stable environment until I was about 12, 13 when I finally went and lived with my dad full time. I were educated. My mom was a drug addict. My dad was an alcoholic. And so I basically was a product of my environment. When my dad divorced at 15, I kind of started going crazy, partying a lot. School was not a priority. I wasn't held accountable. And so I barely made it through to my senior year when I decided to drop out and kind of do my own thing. I've always worked and supported myself. I've been in retail for a long time and got into management and leadership where I really started finding something where I felt like I belonged. Growing up, I always had a lot of friends and I was always the life of the party, but I never, all my friends went off to college and had all these goals and I never did that. So it kind of led up to, in 2006, I met my husband, and after knowing each other for 3 short months, I ended up pregnant. Still no goals, a baby on the way. Didn't know how I was going to support my child. My husband luckily came from a really great family, and he did have goals to be a heavy equipment operator. And so that's where my life really started straightening out, and I started finding my place that people really did care about me. I've met some pretty amazing friends, but there's always been just sort of a void and a need for acceptance and belonging. Almost 2 years ago, I was at probably one of my lowest points in my life. My marriage was failing. I wasn't happy with my body. I was taking diet pills. I was doing all kinds of crash diets. And my sister-in-law came to stay with us, and we started doing Insanity. So that was probably about 15 months ago. And I started following my coach, Mindy, and she was posting things that were relatable to me about not feeling accepted. And she was sharing how she was with Beachbody and she felt accepted, and how her marriage had been on the rocks before she started, and how she was, working towards leaving her job to stay home with her kids. For those of you that know me well, I worked for US Cellular for 7 years, and that was my priority. For someone growing up without goals, and getting all these great opportunities to go to Chicago, to go to Medford for a week at a time, to live in Eureka for 3 months, I felt really proud of myself because I really had risen up from what I had been brought up in. My dad has been in the pipeline industry his whole life and has always held a great job, but like I said, my parents weren't educated, so getting to go to these things, it was like my education. But my family fell victim to that. And so watching Mindy be so empowered by this company and continue to post all her results, and people were following her, and I was just extremely drawn to her. It was contagious. I wanted to follow her. So fast forward a few months, I quit Insanity after 2 times. I tried doing it again this summer, and I just felt extremely tired. I resigned from my job. I thought maybe all the stress that I was under was just catching up with me. So I couldn't stick with it. The kids were back in school. I decided to go back to work for for the same company, but just a little bit closer to home. But I found myself right back in the same position where I didn't have time for my family. I didn't have time to take care of myself. The food that I was eating wasn't good for me. I was drinking still pretty heavily. And my family was still not a priority. They've always been a priority, but if I think about it, they've always come second to my job. So I got an opportunity with a local company to change career fields. And in that time, I started really reaching out to Mindy about what I wanted to do with coaching. So we set up a call and she kind of shared. And again, I was immediately drawn to her. I wanted to be what she wants, the same thing she wants. I want to be there for my family. I want to provide an income. And so after saving for a couple weeks, I decided to purchase my first challenge pack for the 21-day fix. After quitting Insanity twice and not completing 225, I felt like, okay, if I can't complete this, like I'm not going to do it. But just a week ago, I completed my first round of challenge pack. I can't tell you how great that feels to actually complete something, to write down goals at the beginning of the year and actually seeing them come into play. You guys saw my results. I've never felt better. My drinking has stopped in the last month, like I would say 95%. And not because I felt like there was this big issue, but because I'm finding a place of belonging. I've been following Mindy's coach and her sister for probably over 6 months now. And I mean, just the inspiration that I get from these women, it makes me want to do more. In 3 weeks, I've gotten probably 17 different people who contacted me and wanting to be a part of the Team Beachbody in one way or another. Some people just for the discount, and that's okay. A lot of people join that way. I didn't think that 30 days ago that I would even be successful or be able to inspire anyone. And I'm finding that that's changing. So it's definitely something that I encourage everyone to at least take a chance on. I still have my goals. My goal this year is to, buy a house. By the time I turn 30, I want to drop 35 pounds, and not to be skinny, but to be healthy. I don't want to have to feel like I constantly have to look for people's approval. And so I'm bettering myself through self-development, and my goal is to become a diamond coach so that I can once and for all either work, I'm a worker, I always have been, but I want to be there for my kids. Yesterday, I text Mindy in tears because I had to send my kids to school sick, and I don't want to do that. I want to be home with them. So I'm really working towards that goal of becoming a diamond coach this year. And if you have any desire to stop working for someone else and to have your own dreams, I urge you to take this opportunity and this small investment. So sorry for getting so emotional, but I found that this is something I'm so passionate about, and I want everyone to feel what I'm feeling. So if you guys have questions, ask me. Again, I told you, I followed Mindy for about 15 months before I finally made the commitment. And I wish I would have made that commitment so much sooner, because I'm on this high and I don't want to come down, and I want people to feel what I'm feeling. I want people to feel good. I want them to be happy. I want them to reach their fitness goals and their personal goals. There's endless opportunities. Mindy gets to go on on the Success Club cruise paid by Beachbody next week. Like, there's so many great things I can't even explain to you. And I know Mindy's going to share a little bit more with you guys, but again, I just appreciate you jumping on and listening to me ramble. I know it's probably a little bit scattered, but I don't really have much else to say because I'm getting kind of tongue-tied. But at the end, if you guys have questions, please let us know.
Thank you for sharing your story. I'm going to mute you right now just because it helps with all the feedback sometimes. Anyways, hold on. Sorry. Okay, there you go. I know it's hard to share a story. It's, you apologize for being emotional. It's one thing I tell everyone, don't apologize. It's one thing we talked about when we did a private call one-on-one before you became a coach, probably about a month before you became a coach, is that, you have to have your why of what drives you to do anything, what drives you from getting out of bed every morning that makes you go to work, even if you hate your job. The charger's over there, Emily. Um, because there's things in your life that must be done. Go put my phone on the charger. I said, okay, that must be done. Sorry. And there's a lot of times you don't want to do it, or there's hard. You get, stumbling blocks, roadblocks, obstacles, distractions. This falls in everything with parenting, going, like I said, going to work, to a job. You have bad days, bad coworkers. There's obstacles in your marriage. And so obviously there's things like Melissa Hinchman, we've had marital problems. There's something that makes you, drive to stick to it, makes you hang in a day longer, an hour longer. And Beachbody business is the same thing. It's not an easy task because you're taking care of people. And so I always say that you have to have something that propels you. Some people's why are very powerful and other people's are just starting off. There is no wrong or right reason or motive of why you should do this. Um, Somebody may have one that drives them to tears and brings them to their knees when they're thinking about it, while other people are just like, hey, I want to make some extra money. And there's nothing wrong with it. This is your life, your business, your dreams, your goals. Good night. Your business. But for me, when I started, I'll give you a brief rundown of me. I think Melissa and I found out a little more about her today talking on this call than on previous conversations or calls. But I was adopted. I was born in South Korea. I was adopted by some white couple. I grew up in a very small town. I was one of 4 Asian kids. If you asked anybody that I went to school with what type of person I was and shared them the things that I've shared in the last couple of years publicly since I've been a coach, they're like, what? We don't, remember that, because I've always just put on a front that I was okay. But I was teased for being raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that or went to school with anybody, but it's a very strict religion. I had old parents because they adopted me later on in life. They were very frugal, and we didn't have a lot of money. We weren't poor. We always had what I needed, but it was like, my mom sewed my clothes. I wasn't allowed to cut my hair, get my ears pierced, wear makeup, play sports. So I was an outcast. I was not allowed to date. I was flat chested, and I was abused physically, mentally, sexually, emotionally. And my parents were not approachable people. They were very private people. And it was just like sweep everything under the rug, act like nothing was wrong. Everybody has to be perfect. They were very judgmental. I left home at 15. I've been on my own. I've had everything from affairs with people who are 10 years older, married people, done every drug in the book. I've struggled with alcoholism problems, self-esteem issues. And I just always thought that I was this bad person. There's things about my characteristics that my mom would be like, we don't understand where you're coming from. You're a bad person, all this stuff. And now, from having a husband who's raising my daughters who are not biologically his, I do understand now how genetics play a part, because my girls are like their father. My son is like Ryan, but my girls have also picked up characteristics from my husband. But it always made me feel like an outcast, like I didn't belong. Like, where was this coming from me? And then when I was on this path of self-destruction, making these horrible decisions, I'm like, I just must be a horrible person. And I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel like I belonged in a family. Or, I've talked about this before publicly, is that, there's people who are in sports or cheerleading or, student government, photography, all these different things, that they had a place to belong. I never did. And then as I failed, on my 18th birthday, I found out I was pregnant. I've been married 3 times. All 3 kids have different fathers. Uh, my second husband raised my first daughter, so I kind of don't count all of that. But in either way, things like that just eat away at your self-esteem. They make you feel like a loser. It's embarrassing to talk about. I never hid it, but it was not something I opened about. Now I'm like, I'm open about it. I tell everyone what I do. And if you look at somebody like me now, it's very intimidating, because people are like, wow, she just lays it all out there. The other day I talked about my affairs and abortion that I had, having kids young and everything. And there's some people who would never tell anybody that. And if you had have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I would have never shared that publicly. But now it's growth. I've grown. I'm not saying you have to do that or anything, but kind of like what Melissa said, a month in, she is on a high. She doesn't want this to stop. And so this is something that you look at. And, so for her, I know that we clicked because my why of wanting to leave work, and she saw that I wanted the same things that she wants. And I actually did it 625 days to the day from when I became a Beachbody coach. I walked away from my job. 10 years of working in the same industry, too, dropping my kids off sick, doping them up on ibuprofen, knowing that I'm going to get a call. But it was easier to get a call from school in the middle of the workday and have to leave because somebody calls you than to have to call in sick. I never took time off to go with my kids. Like, I miss field trips, I miss assemblies, and it got so bad at the end of 2012 and um, 2013 that my kids just stopped telling me about stuff because you know somebody posting on Facebook about some, I don't know, some thing that they had at school, event. And I asked my daughter, I was like, why didn't you tell me? She's like, well, we told dad. And I said, well, dad go, well, no, he has to work. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? Well, because you could never go. And, thinking about that still makes me cry. I mean, listening to Melissa gets me emotional because like, I understand what it's like. I don't know if any of you are parents or I know Katrina's expecting, it's heartbreaking. And even one of my coaches, Joni, who is a single woman, she said the other day in the group that we have, she's like, it's just a dog, but I left my dog, who's her companion, who she loves. She's like, I just left her at home. She's in a home all day long, sitting there. In regardless of if it's the animal, if it's a child or something, you miss a lot of that. And so this was very big for me when I found Beachbody. It was I found my coach randomly. It was just like most and I've never met each other, but I feel like we know each other well. We share stuff. My coach was the same way. She was somebody I just met randomly through Facebook, trusted, bought P90X challenge pack, started drinking Shakeology. I hid it for my husband. I didn't even tell him I bought it, not because of a money thing. I handle all the finances, but I was so afraid that I wouldn't finish it. And I was afraid that I would be a failure. And so I told my girls, I'm like, oh, I bought this because I knew they were home and he worked out of town 7 days at a time. I said, I did this and I'm don't tell Ryan. I was like, because I'm going to keep it a secret because I want to have a transformation. And there really wasn't that it, but I was too embarrassed. I was actually too embarrassed to work out in front of my own children. My self-esteem was that low. I would banish them from the room. And then 2 weeks in, I started talking about it on Facebook because I was like, holy crap, I did it. I mean, I didn't really see the end of 90 days, but I was like, I went further than what I would do. And, you know, if you've failed in the past, it's very defeating because even if it's just a fitness program you aren't sure you're going to finish, it's still another thing that you didn't complete and that you failed at. And, it's one thing that I shared with Melissa, and this is something that is so big about having a coach, is that I share everything because I want you all to know that who I am today was not who I was, that you can make the same changes and that I am just a normal person, because when you look at somebody who's been successful, it's easy to say, oh, well, they had it easy. They did this and this and this. But I mean, half the people now that I've met, within the last 6 months, I tell them, they're like, what? We would have never guessed that. So I want you all to know more than anything that me as a coach and what I share with my coaches, and I hope that they pass on down the line, is the fact that we're all normal people and that we should share our struggles. Because like I told Melissa, because she felt like, it was basically a failure because she didn't finish Insanity. And then I was like, listen, because if you did Insanity in your home and you told it nobody and you had no support, you would feel like a failure because you probably wouldn't have finished it. I don't know that many people who's finished it. Not saying it can't be done, but people have high expectations that they should just, be able to do 60 minutes of it. I still to this day can't do 60 minutes. So that's why having the coach was there. So I told Melissa, like, listen, baby, nobody, hardly ever finishes it. So don't take it personal, or that this is a failure of yours. I'm like, start the 21-day fix, because I'd gotten to know her. I knew what was best for her. And, just like I thought, she rocked it. She's doing great. She got results. She is a boost of confidence that she finished it. And she skipped right on to round 2 immediately. So, the bottom line is that we're all just normal people, because I know that a lot of people, when they're invited to become a coach, or when, some of you bought your challenge pack, I'm sure she asked the same thing. Since you're buying a challenge pack, why don't you sign up as a coach? Most people, it's like, whoa, they like put on the brakes, deer in the headlight look, because they have all these big, assumptions of what it is. Most people think that you have to have completed a program. You have to be in shape. You have to know about health and fitness. You have to be a salesperson, and you don't. All those things that I was talking about, I told my coach when she offered 13 days in my journey for me to be a coach. I said the same thing. I don't know. I don't have a lot of time. My husband works out of town. I have a 1-year-old and 2 daughters that are in school. I don't like sales. I've worked in network marketing before. I don't like being pushy. I don't really want to share my story with anybody. I'm only 13 days into P90X. And she basically told me what I've been told, Melissa, for over a year. I believe that you can do it. And I believe that all of you can do it. I don't even know any of you except for, Katrina's the only one that I've had a conversation with. But I know you can do it because I know the process. I know that it can be done. You all may get your 21-day fix and open up the package and not start for a week. I know Katrina's pregnant, and so I don't know when it's going to be when she starts, but she's already been helping people. She doesn't even have her package because she believes in it. Why? Because she believes in Melissa, because she watches the things. And so this is what I just share with you, is this can be life-changing. This, like I said, I went from somebody who had low self-esteem so bad that I just sabotaged everything good that had ever been in my life. I felt low. I didn't feel like I could ever do anything because I didn't go to college. I didn't do anything. And then, like I said, I spent 10 years in a career and didn't make jack shit. It was ridiculous how much I made. And I think back, I'm like, I had 5 days of vacation and I had to ask for it. I had to tell everyone what I was doing, and ask in order to get time off, on the trips that I went to for Success Club trip. And a couple of the other trips I've been on since I've been a coach, I worked late in the evening on the weekends to go just to get the time off. And so it really wasn't even vacation. There's times I sent my sick kids to my mother-in-law's, ex-mother-in-law's. I had friends take my kids to the doctors. My husband was the one that was, because he was self-employed, running around taking care of them and all this stuff. I'm like, for what? At the end of the day, what did I get? Nothing. I get a thank you, but they could just can me anytime they want. There was no appreciation. And so this is where Beachbody comes in. This is what I'm going to tell you some of the benefits. Like Melissa said, a lot of people do it just for the discount, and there's nothing wrong with that. The little funny fact here is a lot of the top coaches started off as discount coaches. So not all of them did this. I know a lot of top coaches, the elite coaches who are in the top of the organization, became coaches, quit, and then came back. Coaches who said they were going to do stuff and then they didn't, and a year later they finally did it. So there is no time frame. But I found that a lot of the coaches who work hard and are persistent and know that it takes consistent hard work and effort and putting other people first and being a product of the product doesn't mean you have to have a six-pack, and doesn't mean that you have to be able to like knock out insanity with only a few drips of sweat. It just means that you have to be consistent to your goals and share everything along the way, the ups and downs, the days you miss your workouts. Obviously you don't want to be like, I missed my workout 6 days in a row for the third week in a row. But I'm just saying you have to do this because this is what bonds you to people. The audience that I have is going to probably be different than somebody else. Melissa and I probably have the same audience because we have the same lifestyle. We're a mom. We have the same goals. We have a lot of the same background. But your audience may be totally different than us. But since I've been a Beachbody coach, like I said, 625 days in, 20 months later, I walked away from a 10-year career to do this. I was scared shitless, scared to death. My friends, my best friends, and a lot of my coaches on my team that I'm close with, my husband kept telling me to quit. Honestly, it took my boss to tell me, like, listen, you're not committed. You don't like this here. It's clear in the community that you want to leave. Life's too short. He didn't want me to go because I was one of his best workers. We were really good friends, but he was like, just, go. He's like, just do it. Don't look back and regret this. And finally I was like, I thought about it and I put in my 8-week resignation. But since I've done this, short story, I've always wanted to go to Disney World. My parents couldn't afford it. My grandpa took me to Disneyland every year, once a year, from the time I was 2 to 8. Then there's like, we're too old, Mindy, to make the 12-hour drive from Northern California to Southern California. And it's a long, it's tiring. We can't take you. I begged my parents to take me to Disney World. I begged them to take me to Hawaii. I begged them to, they couldn't afford it. And there was never any solution there. It wasn't like, well, Mindy, let's work on this to do this. It was just like, we can't afford it. I begged them to take me to a white sand, clear water beach. I was telling my husband, I'm like, I had this calendar that I would stare at as a kid that I left on my wall for way past the year that it actually stood for, that I dreamed that I could go to. And these are things that weren't even possible. Last year in March, I qualified to go to Disney World. I was able to take my whole family. We left Rebel behind because he was 2 and there was a lot of events there. But we went to Disney World and it was paid for. totally paid for. I mean, you know what 4 tickets are to Disney World? Insane. Do you know what it is to stay at the Disney Yacht Club, for 4 nights? Insane. Paid for. We went to Summit. That was the, basically like conference, in, Vegas in June. I'd never been to Vegas. We did have to pay for that. That is an expense at ours. I qualified to go to the leadership where we stayed in Dana Point, which is in Southern California, in September. And that was completely paid for. They even gave us $300 travel cash. We stayed in this, 5-star, resort. We got to work out with Tony Horton. There was only 225 people that were allowed to go. Um, I've been to Miami. My coach paid for me to come to Miami to see her, last January for Super Saturday. Me and her actually met, 6 months after I became a coach on her, team in Louisiana. We met there because she came for a family reunion with her husband. I got to go there. There's been all these, opportunities, and so now I get to go. We leave actually tomorrow, and we're flying to Miami to stay a couple days with my coach, and we're an all expense paid for Royal Caribbean cruise, totally rented out by Beachbody. There's like 1,600 coaches on there, and that's it. Nobody else from the public. There's Tony Horton, Sean T, the Autumn Calabrese, totally paid for. I mean, this is insane. I These are just opportunities that I would have never been able to go. I qualified to go to Cancun next year. It is paid for too. I've already covered the expense on that from what I've done, as a coach. These are things that are really important to me because, like Melissa said, like her with US Cellular, there's things that you just feel like you're a failure. And then this isn't about really necessarily where I'm going. It is because it's like I finally get an opportunity to do something in life, and I'm not this person that's just scared to death. When my husband and I got together, he wanted me to leave just to go to Florida for a weekend, and I was terrified of leaving. I don't even know why, but now we're seeing the world. We just got back from a 12-day vacation, where we were able to take our son across 8 states for 12 days, and because he was going for work, and then we made a vacation of it because I have the liberty to just get up and leave and work from wherever I want and be with my family. I still put in the hours. I still checked in on people. I signed 2 coaches while I was gone, but I was able to have that independence. And I was like, my God, I went through 12 days. Like I didn't even have that had I been working for somebody. And on top of that, I get to meet all these wonderful people. You, Melissa, I form relationships. Um, this is just a life-changing experience. And this is because of Beachbody. Beachbody encourages us to do personal development, helps us become better people. They start with health and fitness. They help us get our energy back through Shakeology. They help us get our confidence back by, feeling better, where we can work out, we lose weight, we connect with people with the same struggles, and we build a better life. And then because we stick to it and other people start noticing, then we get the thank yous and the people that reach out, then we realize that we have the ability to inspire people, and then that's just the beginning of this wonderful life. So that's just my story that I want to share. I've been a full-time coach since November 1st. I was talking to my husband today. I don't like to talk huge about money because it's not what it's all about. It is kind of important to me now because I am a full-time coach, but this I know is the biggest thing for people in the beginning because they need to see light in the tunnel. They need to see that it can happen and see normal people. But as of right now, we're March 21st, I think. I have made from January 1st to now exactly what I've made. Well, I mean, maybe not exactly, but within the $100 range difference from what I made all of 2013, working 40 hours a week with 5 days vacation, um, as a coach. And this is all just because I've helped people. If you follow me on Facebook, you'll see that, yeah, I talk about the challenge packs are on sale and, things, but this is really just sharing my life and the funny things that my husband does and my kids do. And, things that go through my head. I really have no censor. I'm very, I'm just me. And I'm not going to try to be like any of the other top coaches. A lot of them are a lot more reserved. A lot of them are a lot more proper than me. But the thing is, I'm me. I'm not going to change who I am. I would never try to offend anybody. I try to be positive. I try to see, the silver lining. I came a long way, but the thing is, my personality is my personality, and that's why I've done well. Is because I'm not trying to mimic or be anybody else. I'm just being me and sharing everything along the way. Everybody knows that beer is my fitness and health nemesis. So, I'm very honest. So that, I want you to know that you all can do this by just being you, whatever shape, size, or fitness level, or no matter where you live, no matter how big the town is you live in, no matter how much time you have. Um, no matter what you've been through in life, you can do it. So that's my story. I'm going to unmute everybody right now and see if anybody has any questions. Does anybody have any specific questions business wise? No.
No, I just wanted to thank you guys.
Well, I appreciate
is
your
really,
time too.
yeah, this is great.
Well, we have just a little side thing is I appreciate, like Melissa said, all of your time. I know that this was, at 7 o'clock for Californians, in the middle of your evening after a long day. So I do appreciate your time. I hope that we gave you some insight on, what really goes on behind becoming a coach, that this isn't, we're not some superhuman. We don't like walk around with six packs, and we don't expect the people on our team to. I'm starting coach online training group that starts on the 7th. Anybody in my team is more than welcome to participate in it. This is just gives you some, the business basics, because, we just showed you what leads people into this opportunity, but there's a lot more out there. And, once you get involved in Team Beachbody, you will see what an amazing company they are, for the support, the leadership, the love, the caring that they listen to us. There's things that, they just started offering, they partnered up with a health insurance company to help get people cheaper health insurance, because that is a concern for full-time coaches. And, what y'all don't realize is that they asked all of us when we were in Miami last January of 2013 what they could do. And Christina, my coach's sister, said, my son has autism. He's on medication. He's going through therapy. The one thing that is standing in my way from me ever leaving it, the job as being as a partner at a law firm, is the fact that I need health insurance. And she said, "Do you think this is something you could ever do?" And he said, "I don't think so." And obviously they can't promise that, but they listen, and now they're involving it. Beachbody listens to what we say. If you ever get a chance to go to any events, go, because you will see how much they do for us and how much they love us and how much they appreciate us and recognize us and give back. And it's so amazing to be with a company who does that, because they don't have to. So
Yeah.
with that being said, did you have anything else, Melissa?
No, the other thing I would just add is a lot of you on the call I do know personally, and I do have personal relations with. And going back to what Mindy said, is it's not it's not completely about the money, but for me, I do want to be able to build an income so that I can start working towards my long-term goals of staying home with the kids. Domenico's a heavy equipment operator, for all of you that know, and he's home during the wintertime. I can tell you in the last 2 weeks, what I've brought in has been probably half of my paycheck in a week. And so this is real. You can make money on it. And if you follow the feedback that Mindy and I are giving to you, I promise you, I will mentor you. I will not let you down. I have a coach who's really stood by me when I didn't feel like I could be successful. I don't have all the answers, but I have resources to them, and I will give those resources to you. So really just consider what we've talked about tonight. And you may not have a story like Mindy and I. You may have had a perfect life and you grow up great. It may not be that for you. So please don't think that you have to fit into this form of what we've just said. Everyone's going to have a different story, and everyone has a different background. So that's basically it. You guys do know me, and I have these relationships with you, and I'm telling you, this is changing my life. I mean, literally, it's an topic of all my conversations. I asked my husband to sit in with the call to me night. I'm really working with him to really understand what I'm doing. So I feel every part of my being improving from this. So that's it. But thank you guys again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out to you for everything that you've accomplished. You're everything I thought you would be, and Katrina too. You two are rock stars. So I'm really appreciative that you took the time to trust in me, and it's just a domino effect, a literal domino effect. So anyways, I hope everybody has a good night. I'll be uploading this to YouTube. That way, you can go back and access it. Or, if you become coaches on the team, you can reshare this, because, this is real stuff. We're real people. So as you can see with everybody's kids running around. So anyways, have a wonderful night.
Yelling.